All right, we're here with Jordan Frisk, graduate of our Players Watch program. So, Jordan, tell everyone, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Highlands High School in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. Yeah, Jeremy Harden's alma mater. So,
There we go. I live across the street from the fort myself. So, what year did you graduate?
2022,
Okay, and then you are going to where to college now?
University of Kentucky.
All right, that's a big fair of my household as well. Grew up as a UK basketball fan. Figured out a little too late that I was a little too small for basketball. Wish I would have got out of that game earlier. What are you studying at college? Are you in general studies or you got a field?
I'm finance right now, and then what I want to do is I have a minor in Spanish as well. So I'm going to try to combine those somehow. Don't really know how yet for sure, but we'll see. We'll see kind of where that takes me.
What part of finance excited you or interests you?
Um, I'd probably say the numbers, I guess, and then I'm looking to work with like Excel maybe too.
Okay.
I've been doing a couple classes in college, trying to get better at that. So kind of just the numbers and Excel part of that, just
Okay.
crunching stuff. So
Yeah, so I I run an insurance agency or manage it, and we do a lot of work with CPAs. We do a lot of work with financial planners, do a lot of work with tax professionals. So they are the numbers people. I personally love a CFO, chief financial officer. That's the best way I can get anything done is someone looking at the numbers. So, hey, want to talk a little bit about and again, this is this open interview forum, so this is just shooting from the hip. Um, walk me through some of the memories you have playing soccer as a kid.
there's so
Get
many.
back.
I mean, I guess starting off from when I was younger, before I even started club, just playing for like my old Catholic school. Like my dad was always the coach, and so that made it a little more fun. Just kind of playing more recreationally and trying to learn the sport rather than excelling individually as a player. Then I kind of got into club with you guys and all the guys we played with from fourth grade moving on, and that made it a lot more fun, becoming like more tactical and like learning all these different moves that you're teaching all the younger guys now that you taught us. So kind of that, and then always traveling on the tournaments, going down to Middletown and Beaver Creek, and then all the meals afterwards too. Like we used to go to Bob Evans and Beaver Creek Bill all the time. I know that was a big name that always popped up after the game. So
Yep.
something like that was always enjoyable to do.
Shannon's dad was Mitchell's dad, Shannon, always ate like literally half the jar of honey there every time he went
Yeah.
in, just drinking from the honey pot. So, like when you look back, obviously there were games that were impactful for you, games you had big impacts in, things like that. But if you had to weigh the scale between remembering game matches and experiences with your friends, family, community, which one weighs heavier on your memories, the game matches or the experiences?
I can always like look back and say like, oh, in this game, we had a great build up for a goal, or in this game we won by a last second PK or goal or something. But it was honestly really just like being around all the guys all the time is where I remember most of my memories from. And like the warm ups before the games or like after the game, like going out to eat and all that stuff. It made those kind of memories made like the wins feel a lot better because coming off a positive win, then you get to spend some time with the guys you're always playing around. So I feel like the memories with my teammates and everything kind of made all the games and wins and everything a lot better.
And now tell us about your support staff at home. I know your mom and dad, you have a younger brother. And, obviously your parents have to pay the money,
Mhm.
get you the things, provide resources. So tell us about a little bit about the family support home you had and kind of how that was impactful for you.
The family sport was really good. I always had my parents driving me everywhere per usual because I mean 9 and 10, 11 years old. There's not really any other way you can do it. Get to some of these games, and so yeah, them driving out to Burlington all the time. Those like 25-minute drives. It took a lot of time out of their day sometimes to take me to practice, especially with Jason when he was playing because they'd have to
Mhm.
go out early, and then I'd have to go out with them. And they kind of had to stay out there for probably like 3 and 4 hours 3 times a week. So stuff like that, and it was a big sacrifice for them, but it I was really appreciative for it as I got older.
It's funny when you're going through it, you don't think about that. So we have
Mm.
a U12 boys team, and we have parents that have kids on their older team. I mean, I know those parents are either, sitting in the parking lot, checking emails, or they're, playing video games on their phones, or they're going doing their grocery shopping. I mean, it's 3, 4 hours, as you said, and then you got to go home, and then you got to feed the kids and get them to bed. So I think, it's a little unseen sometimes by kids at this young age. Get in the car, say thank you, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. They tell you to, do a chore or two. You're like, yes, oh, as good as I can, because kids don't realize that component.
Mhm.
Now, you had a very good club career, but you also had a really good high school career. You were a prolific goal scorer. I utilized you a lot in my coaching, talking about um, rebound finishes, goals that don't come from you dribbling and setting up the goal, you creating the goal off from the weak side, or reading the defense. Talking. Obviously Matt Stevens is an assistant trainer. He was there during your time. Um, you were able to probably be one of the most successful goal scorers when you're not with the ball doing it. So some accolades you there, but you had to juggle going from club, and when you guys are 8 to 12 years old, there is no high school, right? So that's all you got. And then when you go into that 8th grade, maybe in freshman year, there's an introduction to high school. We personally have seen that be a tough period for kids, 13 to 16, when they're juggling. Hey, I gotta make my pecking order here and get in.
Mhm.
And it's just, you're going to school with the kids all day. Your friends from high school are going and watching you play. There's what we call social hierarchy there in high school. Club doesn't have it, right? There's nobody from your high school going to watch your club match. There's no cheers from the sideline. There's nobody at school talking about the match. So there's a different dynamic in high school, and a different style of play that you have to adjust to. Now, you did have a good coach in high school. You
Mhm.
had a good coaching staff. I knew your coach. Um, he did a great job. But just talk to these young kids. We have kids that are now jumping into that world. Our older team, they're sophomores and freshmen. We didn't have our season for the first time this year, because in the fall, because of high school. And we have a girls program now that is they're going to be transitioning in. We have a younger group that they're going to get that 7th grade and start jumping up. As you went from this club sense of just, this is for the love of the sport, because I want to play, to this social component of being in high school, growing up with these kids your whole life and representing your team in that style of play. How do you juggle that? Is there any advice you can give to these young kids?
Um, I feel like the biggest thing for me, kind of going from club to high school, was like kind of like the style of play that we had. With your whole idea with behind like success and getting better, we do a lot of like 1v1 tactical stuff. And I think when I was my from going from 8th grade to freshman year, that was like my first time kind of having to play like a passing oriented like situation. Or so really like dialing down and getting like my touches down and everything during your season made it a lot easier for when I went into high school, because I already had my tactile or my footwork and everything down. It made a lot, like the passing and everything, a lot easier.
Well, and it's interesting. We've learned. We just keep learning. So the group that was older than you, they're now 26. They were teaching us a little bit about what to do for you guys, and then you guys really leaped us, because of all the time we got. 12, 13 years with you guys. We learned a lot about what not to do, and moving some of these kids into this. We've transitioned now. This at the end of 12, 11, 12, we're now getting into a lot more of these system oriented passing things, because and we kind of see the blueprint in high school in this area. I mean, it's going to be a 4-3-3. I mean, 90% of the time, they've got the flat back four. They're going to be in some diamond shape in the middle with three up top. And so that's kind of the formation in the United States is kind of taken over. And so we're attempting to kind of teach a little bit more as they get in this age. And that's something we learned from a lot of you guys. Um, Talk to me about a little bit, and this is a kind of a keynote kind of topic, when you're going to play year-round sports. I mean, you're going from high school to an indoor training program into indoor soccer, transitioning to fall or spring soccer. You might have a little time just to get your body right again, and then you're going into, your fall season high school. That's a lot of it's a job. I mean, I know you were working as you did it. I'm down the Chipotle, saw you down there working the food line. You were able to juggle having a job, staying fit, keeping touches, being present at practice, keeping your grades up. What things did you have to sacrifice to do that? I mean, you can't just do that easily, right? So what were the sacrifices these kids are going to be looking at as they get into that realm?
So I remember when we were growing up, like when I first joined your team, you talked about how you were like willing and accepting of us playing all these different sports, and how each sport kind of contributed to making like soccer a lot better and like making you more like a better player and everything. But once I got to like freshman sophomore year of high school, I was big into basketball all throughout like my life, and then I kind of had to sit down and make a decision of whether or not I wanted to keep playing, because if I sacrificed playing basketball rather than doing all these winter workouts that you were doing, I saw that I kind of would notice that like my touch and everything and my dribbling and my 1v1 ability would decrease as I was playing basketball, because I had to sacrifice so much time just for basketball. And then on top of grades and everything else, it made it a little harder to kind of keep everything going and like flowing smoothly. So I ended up having to stop playing basketball and just kind of focus more on soccer and everything like that.
Talk about your social life. I mean, I don't know that much about you guys. I wasn't trolling the players like I am now on social media. They think that I'm their friend and really I'm watching them. But when it comes to, your, having your core guy system, having, there might be a female presence as you get through high school. There's dances, there's parties at guys' houses, there's things like that. Obviously you're not a hermit. We don't recommend that you're not social. Never would recommend you don't develop social skills and ties. But how did you manage maintaining a social life but not getting too sucked in, and then also doing grades and sports? And how did that balance for you?
So I kind of would always like lay out my schedule into like a daily schedule. So Monday and Wednesdays, I mean, I'd obviously have school on Tuesday and Thursday. So I wouldn't really spend any time those days like hanging out with friends, just because we'd have those like late, like 7, 8 o'clock practices. So that was kind of off the table then. And then I'd always make a goal to either finish like 75% of my homework or completely finish all of my homework before we went to training. So that helped a lot, just like kind of with time management and everything. And then the only day I really had to worry about hanging out with like my buddies or anything was like Fridays. And so Friday, we'd have practice. We'd get done around 9 o'clock. So I'd have little time to hang out with my buddies afterwards. And then Saturdays, we wouldn't, I mean, sometimes we'd have games, but usually they were on Sundays. So
Mhm.
Saturday was a lot of the time that I would hang out with my friends and kind of just prepare everything, look to see what other homework I had and the next week. And so it was kind of, I managed it pretty well, because considering the practice schedule we had.
Well, what you just said was the key. I pre-planned my time. I sat down and I planned out what was going to happen before it came to me. And that's something we're begging these kids to do. They all have now some type of screen, whether it's a tablet or a cell phone. A lot of the kids have limited access cell phones where they can only do certain functions, but every single one's got a calendar function. And they got colors, and they could color code and pre-plan. And that's something we beg these kids to get in the habit of pre-planning your week. And that's a huge thing. Great job on that. Um, as you went through and you came out of club and you walked into the high school, one of the things that we kind of look at with kids is um there are certain kids that are leaders and there's certain kids that are followers, and there's nothing wrong with either side. There's skills to be developed on both ends of that. What side of the spectrum did you feel like you fell? More of a follower of others or a leader of them?
I think I could consider myself a leader. Coming in as an eighth grader on the freshman team, I was a captain. I was a captain as an eighth grader. And then for JV, my 1 year on JV, I was a captain as a freshman. And then for my 3 years on varsity, I became a captain my senior year.
So
So
what do you think the things that put the captain band on you? Why did you get chosen, in your opinion, and not all 30 plus kids? Why are they choosing you?
My biggest thing was, I mean, I feel like every team in Northern Kentucky has these like summer conditioning, summer workouts, and my thing was, whether it was running a 2 mile timed run or playing like small sided games, I was always there, always giving 100%. Like I made it my goal, kind of when we were running, that I was like, I want to try to beat every person on in my grade and the grade above me while running, to kind of prove to everyone that I was there to compete. I was there to win. And then even like a counter off there, whenever I'd finish, I mean, I was always there supporting the guys on my team that were still running or something like that. And then another big thing was, a lot of guys would leave for spring break or like summer break or stuff like that, kind of just get away from the soccer. And I always tried to convince my parents to go on like vacation on dead period instead of missing any time. So kind of just always being there, always being persistent in practice. And that was kind of one of the big things that I thought made me stick out as a leader. But
So there's this thing in business I learned a couple years back. It's visibility plus credibility creates profitability. So what I take out of that, one is um, you became visible. You were there on time. You were consistently there. You were always in the view, right? You didn't take the breaks. Your parents didn't say, "Hey, let's take a late vacation." You said, "No, this is my thing. I'm taking ownership over it. This is mine. I want to stay." They said, "Oh God, what a pain in the ass. We'll stay." Great. The other thing is that you said, "Hey, I also helped other people." I knew I could do it myself because I earned it on my own time. I went out and trained. I knew I could do it, and I was going to showcase I could do it because I know I'd earned it. But then, as soon as I'm done, I'm taking that next step of helping others. So that's, leadership over rank, right? So one thing I hear too is you're getting promoted early without rank. So a lot of people, they just get a chance at the end because they stayed long enough, but you got promoted early. And that's what leaders tend to do. They tend to get promoted quicker than their rank allows them to be promoted. So that's great information for these young kids. Thank you. Let me see here. When you got to high school, and you kind of alluded to it, you had developed a little bit of your own style of play. You had a brand that you were known for. It was very, and I talked to the high school coaches behind the scenes, especially the ones I know, and they knew your style of play. They figured it out very quickly. So talk about, for these young kids, especially 8 to 12, and they're going to go up in the high school, developing a style of play. And your style of play wasn't the same as everybody else's. Like Evan was different. Luke was different than you, big time different playing. But you developed a style that you branded, and you got to take that in the high school and put it into play. How important is it to kind of develop a style when you're young?
yeah, it's definitely important. When I was like a freshman coming in, I mean, for club, I was moving all around. So you had me in a bunch of different spots so I could kind of experiment where I wanted to be in club. And so I would you started off like at striker, a little bit of midfield. But then as I kind of thought about it and kept progressing as a player and got a little bigger and everything, I realized that kind of left wing was the best way for me to like kind of use my style of play. And so I kind of, in practices and summer conditionings, I always got myself out left, kind of just to show the coaches that's kind of where I wanted to be. And then I just kind of just developed that through like my freshman or my sophomore, junior, and senior years. And like, yeah, just that consistency of doing the same thing and repeating the same playing style helped a lot towards the end.
And tell us how your body held up as a high school athlete. I mean, the club, yeah, is one thing, but high school pretty brutal physical. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just a different brutality in high school. I can't really explain it. Club, the ball just moves so much faster that you can't catch each other in club. People are thinking ahead. The ball's moving. The thoughts are so much quicker. If you get caught in club, you're doing something wrong. Versus high school, it's almost like, football style where you're just banging bodies. How'd you hold up?
I held up pretty well. I mean, there'd be games where I'd, take a beating. I mean, because I was always a smaller player growing up, so sometimes I'd get caught by this athlete who wasn't really a soccer player that would kind of just body me in the next week. But there was like some injuries that would happen, but I mean they were small, and you usually would get through them just because of the stuff that we were doing in the off season with you, kind of like the mobility training and everything like that. So it kind of like helped me make these like injuries that for some people are a lot bigger, were usually weren't as bad kind of when
I
I
know
got older.
talking to the coaching staff, they're really impressed with your durability. Just seems like you could go hard every practice, every game. I used to call you Ricky Bobby behind the scenes because it's like, I just want to go fast, man. If you're second, you're last. But you had that it's just that pace of play that's more competitive. And so teaching kids that if their bodies aren't going to be able to just go hard every session, if you haven't prepped it, you get the shelf injury. And that's what, I think that I've been really happy with a lot of our players through the years. We haven't had a lot of shelf injuries where, everyone's going to get banged up. I mean, by the end of your season, you're 75% of fresh every time. But injuries that sit you down and you're on the shelf, you can't play, you can't train, you have to sit there and wait for your body to heal. We forgoed a lot of those injuries through the years, and I think it's just that over training mentality. So we've been happy with that. Looking back, going into looking back now of the process, you alluded to a little bit of some things that we can focus on of getting to a more system oriented process, and we've done some adjustment to that with our coaching. Is there anything else, and again, be as harsh as possible? We love to learn here. So going back and saying, hey, this would have really helped me if you would have added this to it or done this. Are there things that we could add value to the kids that we're not currently doing or that you haven't seen us do?
Hmm, it's a tough one. Um, that I'm not. I honestly kind of like how we did it when I was growing up because we really worked on the tactical stuff, the footwork, the English dribbling, all that stuff, all the skill moves. And my biggest thing in my career, I thought that I struggled with was my first touch and where I was placing the ball when I was shooting it. So I feel like working with all the touches and mobility and toe taps, foundations, all of those kind of improved my first touch in the club season where I could make mistakes. And then once I got to the actual high school level, when they're harsher on making these mistakes and willing to pull you out and bench you if you're not playing the way they want you to, it really helped me that way, kind of getting that first touchdown and going from there.
Boy, you just do a gem out there and you don't even know it. So again, that high school mentality of perform or sit. Club is a chance where we want you to fail. We want to see you trying it. We want to see you go, oh, it didn't work out. Try it again. Try it again. Try it again. And so that's really that platform where kids can earn a little belief in themselves, right? Because you get to high school, you make a mistake, they yank you out. What happens to your self-belief? Pretty quickly you have a narrow window. The window gets very, very closed where all of a sudden you're talking in your own head. Your parents are getting on you in the parking lot before you even hit the car. And all of a sudden you're saying, I can't do this. I got to sit. Whereas we see that the courage of a club player tends to be a little bit higher. They're not as afraid of a mistake, even if they know the leash is tighter in high school, and it is. I know it's a tighter leash, but you're still willing to try to make a great play. It's just inbred in you guys. I gotta go for it. I gotta go for it. I gotta go for it. And that's what wins the game. That's what wins the game, wins the moments. It's not playing it safe. We've personally seen the upper third of high school get so programmed. I can sit we can sit on the sideline and go, oh, this is what's going on. Oh, they're gonna go here every time. Here it goes. And the chaos that great goal scorers have eluded the even the US soccer federation is not, has not understood the chaos in the upper third. You have to do stuff that's nonsensical. You have to do stuff that makes no sense. How does a kid learn to do something like that? He breaks the rules. You let
Mm.
him do a bunch of stupid crap, and all of a sudden he starts going, "Oh, I never thought of that one. That really works." It's almost like the comedic mind, right there. They see something horrific and they're making jokes about it, right? And that's where that creativity comes from. You guys, your group had a great upper third creativity. I mean, you running up there, having, you and Luke up there caused chaos because Luke never did anything he thought he was going to do. And so it's fantastic. But hey, man, a couple of things I took away from here. Um, One, you talked about pre-planning your schedule and keeping it in front of you. It sounds like something you're continuing to do today and something you're going to keep doing. You'll run the company one day if you keep doing that. You'll just run by everybody. It's just unbelievable that most people fight themselves all day. They can't get out of their own way. They just, you know, little bit of planning goes a long way. Keep doing that, brother. We took away that you were visible. You showed up, you were ready to go, you had game-like intensity in your training. You wanted to compete with the players around you and push them and try to outdo people. It's a competitive mindset. But then you turn around as soon as you check the box, is willing to help the other people in your scope get there. Um, Fantastic stuff. I really appreciate the time, Jordan. It's great to see you. Part of this is selfish to me, so I can still see you guys. So we all appreciate it, and we'll post this out. Keep doing what you're doing, and really appreciate you giving back to the younger kids.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, man. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.